Final Fantasy III, released on the 27th of April 1990, follows the story of the 4 Onion kids. The land they live in has suffered a terrible earthquake, one which has swallowed the crystals, bringing imbalance to the world as darkness threatens to flood it. The 4 kids, however, have fallen into a fissure created by this quake, leading them to a discovery that will change their fates, as they become tasked with saving the crystals. I name my characters Alex, Alvin, Alan, and Alice. Once done so, the onions fall down a hole, landing in a cave. As they argue amongst themselves, they wander around, entering combat with goblins. These enemies are quite weak, no match at all for my fighters. Other enemies I can find around here include eye fangs, slightly stronger enemies, carbuncles, somewhat comparable with goblins, and blue wisps, the strongest enemy at the moment. Once the battle is over, I can finally take control of my characters. They start as Onion Knights. This job is the weakest of them all, starting with incredibly low stats. Their equipment options aren't that amazing either, only basic equipment is available. They do get some possible late game goodies, but that requires a lot of effort to be worth using. I go north, finding chests that contain a potion and a leather shield. I give this one to Alex. I continue north, finding a strange rock. Examining it opens up a wall. I go east, finding a chest with another leather shield. This one goes to Alvin. I then climb up to the second floor. I go west, finding a chest containing Antarctic Wind, an item that inflicts ice damage. Then go east, finding a chest with another potion. I go north, finding yet another potion. Then go east, finding a chest with another Antarctic Wind. I go all the way west, finding a room with a crystal. Before I can approach it though, I must face the land turtle. As a boss, it has incredible HP, but not much defense actually. I do make use of my Antarctic Winds as a way of pushing damage faster. A sustained defense eventually takes it down. I can finally approach the Wind Crystal, which grants us its light. It warns of universal imbalance, giving us the task of protecting the world and restoring the light. I then use the warp point to leave this cave. The power of the Wind Crystal has given my onions the ability to change jobs, gaining access to 5 new options. First is the Warrior, a frontline fighter with good equipment options in both swords and armor, although later jobs will obsolete it. The Warrior has no special ability of his own. The Monk is a dual-wielding specialist, either with his exclusive nunchucks or his fists, having great damage potential at the cost of bulk. Much like the Warrior though, he has no special ability and will eventually become obsolete, though not as early. The White Mage has access to most white magic available, which includes healing spells, air damage, and other supportive spells. Their preference in staves will allow them to use select black magic spells. They become obsolete much later than other Wind Crystal jobs. Black mages can use most black magic available, consisting of mostly offensive damage spells and status effects. Their weapon choices aren't that amazing, even their preferred rods that were meant to boost their spell damage won't do so due to a bug. They obsolete at a late point though. And finally, red mages. They have a diminished selection of both white and black magic, with some decent early equipment choices, but their long-term usefulness is arguably the worst of the Wind Crystal jobs. They still have an important role in the early game. Here at the overworld, I can find new enemies that include werewolves, decently strong attackers, killer bees, somewhat inaccurate, they can poison with their attacks, and berserkers, quite strong with decent HP. I arrive at the village of Ur, finding an inn I can use for free. It also has an item shop that sells potions, antidotes, and eye drops. A man suggests taking antidotes and eye drops with me if I'm going on a journey. A rock has closed off the valley that leads to the town of Canaan. An old man teaches about giving items to NPCs. I give him a potion, receiving echo herbs in exchange. I talk with Father Topapa, who sends us off on our journey to protect the light. The town south of here, Kazus, has had no contact with the outside world since the earthquake. These lands are ruled by King Sasune. His castle is west of here. An old man suggests the use of Cure. I can get it in a storage here, but it's surrounded by monsters. I go northeast, finding a potion. I then check out the weapon shop. It sells knives, daggers, long swords, staves, and nunchucks. The armor shop sells vests, leather armor, leather shields, leather caps, and bronze bracers, while the magic shop sells Poisona, the poison removal spell. I then go towards the storage. The old man there tells me to check the rightmost candle. It unlocks a hidden path. I check 2 pots here, getting 2 antidotes. Then go east, climbing upstairs to open chests that contain 2 sets of leather armor, a dagger, a cure spell, and a longsword. I give the armor to Alex and Alvin, the longsword to Alex, and dagger to Alvin. I then go south of the storage, finding a potion. At this point I decide to change my onions' jobs. Alex becomes a warrior, Alvin a red mage, Alan a monk, and Alice a black mage. I then give the cure spell to Alvin. I go through some woods, finding a well. Inside it are 3 chests that each have a potion. I return to the altar cave, going east through a secret passage, finding 2 chests that each contain 1,000 gil. I go back west, then south, finding stairs to the second floor. I go west, finding a room with chests that contain a bronze bracer. I give this one to Alvin, 2 longswords, a nunchuck, I give it to Alan, and a sleep spell, which induces sleep. I give it to Alice. I then return to Ur, buying Poisona for Alvin. I go south of Ur, finding the town of Kazus. A man is startled by my appearance, thinking I was a ghost. Seems that the town is cursed. The stores aren't being tended to, although I can still make use of the revival spring and the inn. According to the ghosts, the Mythril Ring can seal the Djinn responsible for this curse. Seed of Canaan has been cursed as well. He agrees to lend his airship. It is at the desert west of here. The Djinn is at the sealed cave, released by the earthquake. A Mythril Ring was made for Princess Sara of Sasune. I move along the woods, finding a staff, a Zeus's wrath, an item that inflicts lightning damage, and a Mythril helm, which I give to Alex. I then go west, finding Sid's airship. I can now fly without the fear of random encounters, but it can't fly very high, so I'm still contained by the surrounding mountains. I fly to the west, entering Castle Sasune, finding a soldier that reports that everyone here has been cursed by the Djinn. I enter the central room, climbing upstairs all the way to the throne room. The king says that the Djinn must be resealed to break the curse. He is in the sealed cave. Princess Sara's Mythril Ring would be useful, but she is nowhere to be found. A ghost also says that the White Slayer is stored in the West Tower. Only red mages can use it. Many undead can be found at the sealed cave. I then go to the room upstairs of the central room, finding a secret passage that leads me to the eastern set of stairs, going downstairs to open 2 chests that each contain 1,000 gil, climbing up, finding chests that contain a blizzard spell, the ice elemental damage spell that I give to Alice, and a leather shield. I then go through the northern secret passage, finding a chest with a tonfa, which I give to Alan. I then return to the starting area, climbing up the west tower. These towers feature new enemies that include dark eyes, undead enemies that can cast blind, red wisps, a basic undead enemy. The undead are usually weak to the holy element, and zombies, decently strong undead enemies. I find 2 chests. They contain holy arrows and wood arrows. They can only be used with a bow, which I don't have at the moment. I then reach the top, opening a chest containing the White Slayer, a holy elemental weapon. Before I can give it to Alvin, I must face a griffin, a strong enemy for this point of the game. I then go to the eastern tower, finding 2 chests that contain more holy arrows and wood arrows, then climb to the top, finding chests that contain a potion, a bow, and more wood arrows. I give the bow to Alice. This weapon has full accuracy when used from the back row, but must be equipped alongside arrows, which are limited in quantity. I then take the airship north, finding the sealed cave. New enemies that can be found in this cave include skeletons, decently strong undead enemies, mummies, undead with higher attack but lower HP, shadows, these ones combine good strength with blind casting, larvae, a bit frailer compared to other undead, they can also cast blind, cursed coppers, these undead coins can use a sleep-inducing glare, and revenants, the strongest of the undead that infest this cave. The White Slayer will be seeing much use here. I go south, opening a chest that has a potion, then go northeast, finding a chest that contains a cure spell, then go south, climbing down to the second floor. Here, I find a chest that contains 500 gil. I then interact with the northeast skull, opening way to the east, finding Princess Sara. She's on a quest to seal the Djinn, but the monsters here have delayed her progress. The warriors think she should retreat, but instead, Sara suggests they work together to complete the task. I then climb down to the 3rd floor, going south, finding a chest that has Antarctic wind. I then go north and west, finding a chest that contains eye drops. I then go west and south, coming face to face with the Djinn, a mighty boss that resists fire and has good HP, being capable of casting fire as well. He does have a weakness to ice though. The Antarctic wind deals great damage, blizzard casts as well, so he goes down easily. Now that the Djinn has been weakened, Sara seals him in the ring. We then warp back to the castle. Sara casts the ring into the spring here, cleansing it as well as the curse that afflicted Sasune and Kazus. As thanks, the king gives us a canoe. We can now cross fresh water with it. We do need to cross a lake to fetch back the airship. I return to Kazus, being greeted by Sid. He wants to be taken back to Canaan. But before that, I check with the townsfolk and stores. The magic shop sells sleep, blizzard and fire. The fire elemental damage spell. I buy 1 fire for Alice. The weapon shop sells mithril rods, mithril knives and mithril swords, while the armor shop sells mithril armor, mithril shields, mithril helms, mithril gloves and mithril bracers. I buy 2 sets of mithril armor for Alex and Alvin. I also buy 2 mithril shields for them, a mithril helm for Alvin, and a set of mithril gloves for Alex. The item shop is now also operational. A man at the inn tells of the secret path of the nearby mithril mines. A man knows of Taka, the blacksmith who lives here. I visit his house, Sid requests of him a Mythril Ram to destroy the boulder at the Nelf Canyon. Taka fits the ram into the airship, so now the boulder can be destroyed. I then make a visit to the Mythril mines. I unlock the secret path of the north, going downstairs to the second floor, going north, opening chests that contain 2 Mythril swords. I give one of those to Alex. I take flight on Sid's airship, ramming it into the boulder, shattering both it and the airship. I walk the rest of the way south to Canaan. As thanks for a safe arrival, Sid promises to build another airship, telling me to meet King Argus. A man says that a mage left a magic solution in this town. A lady in a house says that Desch left to do a task, leaving Selena in tears. According to Selena herself, he left for the southern mountains. Next to this house is an inn, the first paid one. There's an item shop here as well. An old man says that the mini spell can shrink people to gnome size. Desch bought the last mini spell here. I visit the armor shop. It sells Mythril armor, shields, helms, gloves and bracers. The nearby house is a revival spring. I find Sid's home. His wife is suffering from an illness and needs an elixir. A man says that there's a village of gnomes south of here. The weapon shop here sells Mythril rods, knives and swords, while the magic shop sells Cure, Thunder, the Thunder elemental damage spell, Poison and Blind, status inflicting spells. I buy 1 Thunder for Alice. A lady knows that the Aero spell is effective against flyers. I then walk along the river here, finding an elixir at the end. I give it to Sid's wife, being granted access to Sid's secret treasure stash. It contains iron arrows, a blind spell that I give to Alice, a phoenix down, a gold needle, 2 pieces of gnomish bread that allow me to see the map, a great bow that I give to Alice, and a potion. I then return to Selena's house. There are pots here that contain a mallet and a gold needle. I set out to the southern mountains. New enemies found in this path include fireflies. They can cast fire, they're weak to the air element, like all the other enemies here. Rust birds, these ones have a confusion inflicting glare. Hell divers, they have attacks that can petrify party members. And rooks, the strongest enemy of the area. I continue along the path, going south of the first opportunity to open a chest that contains a gold needle. I then go all the way north, finding a chest that contains the Aero spell, a damage spell that is simultaneously ice and air elemental. I give it to Alvin. I then go to the west, opening a chest that has a gold needle. I then go north, being taken by a dragon to the mountain's peak. I hear a rustling in the nest. It's Desch. He doesn't remember much, other than his name and that he had some task to do. Our little conversation seems to have alerted the dragon, Bahamut. He's too much for me to handle, so I just run away. Desch gives me his mini spell. This spell can inflict and heal Mini. The party and Desch then jump off the mountain. I take this opportunity to teach Mini to Alvin. I find a healing forest nearby. To the south is the town of Tozus, only accessible to those of gnomish size. As such, I turn all my party members tiny with Mini. I go south, arriving at Tozus. The people here know that the Miralka Basin is the home of the Vikings, being located at the other end of the tunnel at Miranos Range. I then go northwest, finding Shelko. He needs an antidote. After giving him one, he reveals the nearby secret tunnel. At the end, I find chests that contain a Mythril bracer that I give to Alice and a Mythril rod. I find an inn and item shop. A gnome says that the fairies live in the Living Woods. There's an item shop here that only sells gnomish bread. I also find a magic shop that sells fire, blizzard, sleep, thunder, poison, blind, and aero. Now that I am forced to have shrunken party members, magic becomes more valuable. The mini status effect reduces my physical capabilities after all. As such, I turn Alex to a red mage and Alan to a black mage. I buy aero for Alex, as well as fire, blizzard, and thunder for Alan. I then return to Shelko's house, going downstairs to the Tozus tunnel. New enemies found here include leprechauns, enemies that are a bit weaker than previous enemies. They kind of have to be, considering my status, and dark faces, somewhat stronger enemies. I go west, climbing up to the second floor, going further west, finding the exit. I enter the nearby cave, finding the Vikings' lair. The Vikings here tell that after the earthquake, a giant sea dragon awoke, destroying their armada. Only the Enterprise survived. At the end of the cave is the Nepto Temple. I then open the nearby chest. It has 300 gil. I find an inn that includes a magic shop that sells fire, blizzard, sleep, thunder, poison, and blind, as well as the usual item shop. I then climb upstairs to the second floor. I go west, finding a Viking in hiding, as well as stairs that lead me to a room with 2 chests. They each have 300 gil. According to the old man here, the earthquake woke up the Nepto Dragon that slumbered at the Nepto Temple. I climb back up, then go east. The Viking leader is desperate. If I were to find a way of defeating the Nepto Dragon, he will give us the Enterprise. I then find a hidden treasure stash. The chests here contain the Fandara, Fire, and Blizzara spells, stronger elemental damage spells. I give them to Alice. I then leave through the north exit. I could sail with the Enterprise already, but that would be an awful idea. as doing so would incur the wrath of the Nepto Dragon, who cannot be defeated due to its immense power. As such, I walk my way to the Nepto Temple. New enemies found here include Lilliputians. Somewhat weaker enemies, they can cast a variety of elemental spells. P'tis, stronger attackers that can petrify, they can also cast magic. Poison bats, poisonous attacking enemies. Weir rats, on the weaker side of things, they don't have anything special. And bloodworms, enemies that are a bit bulkier than usual. I go north, finding a dragon head statue with a missing eye. I can enter the opening if my party is me need. I go along the corridor, finding 2 holes at the end. West takes me to 2 chests, they have a shell helm and shell armor, while east takes me to a chest that has a serpent sword. It is lightning elemental. I then go through the next hole. At the end of the long corridor, I find a giant rat. He's quite strong, having spell axes as well. I have no other options other than spell spam and damage items. Once it's defeated, I get the Nepto Eye. I return to the entrance, placing the eye on the empty socket. The Nepto Dragon's soul returns to its body, calming its rampage. I receive the Fang of Water as thanks. I then return to the Vikings Cove. As promised, the boss gives me the Enterprise. I can now sail the seas. This has been an eventful journey. I found the Wind Crystal at the Outer Cave, gaining the power of job change. Discovered a terrible curse inflicted by a Djinn that lived at the sealed cave. With the help of Princess Sara, the Djinn was sealed, and the curse lifted, saving the people of Kazus and Sasune. I then went to Canaan, climbing the nearby Dragon's Peak, encountering Desch. Bahamut attacked, so we had to jump away, landing near Tozus, the gnomish town. Using the power of Mini, I entered the town, going through a tunnel, finding the Vikings Cove. The Nepto Dragon devastated their armada, so I went to the Nepto Cave, recovering the Nepto Eye, the key to calming the dragon, receiving the Fang of Water as a reward. Now that I am allowed to sail on the Enterprise, I can explore the seas to continue my quest of protecting the crystals. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, as I start my naval exploration.